When it comes to the question of how do I let go, or how do I change myself, or how to, the number one premise that you have to understand is, in general, how to questions are asked when you don't want to do it. So, for example, uh, when you want to play the piano and you just have a touch for music and just a genuine interest, or you absolutely fell in love with the idea of playing piano, then of course, will getting lessons and will watching YouTube videos about it help? Yeah, it definitely will. But the thing is, when you really, really, really want to play the piano, you play the piano. And on top of that, you start forming better questions around specific pain points of playing the piano, right? But, you know, even those difficult techniques, right? Like a legato. I don't know. My piano knowledge is not that great. Or uh, how to move your left hand separately from the right hand. These things, they're hard to learn at first, right? And of course, you can look for resources and keep asking, how do you do that? But when you really want to play the piano, you just play the piano. When you really want to learn how to do a legato, you do a legato. You practice it. When you really want to know how the left hand fucking moves so differently from the right hand, you learn by doing. So you have to understand, this sounds extreme, but the underlying premise behind how do I questions is that you don't actually want to do it. You would rather be asking questions than do it. Of course, there are people who do it and ask questions. But if you are watching this video, chances are you are always seeking answers from other things instead of practicing the activities that give arising to the answers. This honest truth needs to be acknowledged first. So, for example, uh, you know, but how do I, write a good resume? Yeah, but the thing is, how do you write a good resume? You write a lot of crappy ones. You write and then you take a look at it and then you look at what parts are not measurable, like what part is too long, why my resume is three, pages long, and you think, maybe I can, but okay, so suppose I want to limit myself to one page. What do I need to take out? So you try taking out three portions, and you try taking out another three, and then you cross compare. So these feel like they suck, right? I understand. But the thing is, this is what actually develops the skill of writing a good resume, right? When you look at your professional career by writing with the intention of needing to prove it, demonstrate it to somebody, and then being respectful of their attention span, trying optimizing multiple different strategies, seeing what feels good to you, seeing what feels good to the reader. These are ultimately involved in the journey of actually writing a good resume. But when you take the feedback of, oh yeah, you just follow these guidelines, the thing is, yeah, it may help in the immediate term, but it won't help in the long term because you didn't really use yourself. you didn't really utilize this great entity that you have inside to arrive at the answers. So the next time something challenging happens again, what you are going to do is look for another external answer, because why? It worked. It took so little effort last time, and it worked. So you start depending on external answers. You start depending on external resources. But the thing about external resources is they're not always guaranteed, right? So the less you work on things yourself, the more power you lose. The more power that gets siphoned to the outside. And more importantly, the more you become dependent on something that is not you. And of course, there are times when you depend on something and then, it works out. But you cannot guarantee it. Therefore, you are setting yourself up for a long-term failure when you don't rely on yourself. So, how do I let something go? How do I start my new habit? How do I change my life? It's done by actually doing the activity. How do I get better at playing the piano? By playing the piano. How do I get better at jiu-jitsu? By practicing jiu-jitsu. How do I get better at sales? By engaging in sales. But the thing is, now it comes to, there's a very big difference between doing something like playing the piano. My fingers hurt. But when I look at the other YouTube, the fingers are very gentle. So I think I'm putting a lot of pressure into my hands. Why do I do that? Let me try relaxing. So there's this type of playing, and now there's another type of playing. Why the fuck won't this finger move? Right? When you approach any activity in a stressful way, you're gonna burn out. There's no other way around it. You're gonna burn out. Why? Because it takes so much energy to do something, right? But take somebody who's playing the piano for just shits and giggles, right? They're at an Airbnb, and then the piano happens to be there, and it's been a long time since you last had some piano lessons, so you got interested, so you're playing, and then you suck. But then when you're enjoying something, right? You're not engaging in the activity as an energy sink. When you enjoy something, you engage in the activity as an energy source. So there's a very big difference between an energy sink and an energy source, right? So, how do you get to enjoying something, right? Again, that might be the tempting question. But what that reveals is you don't want to enjoy this. Why? Because you have preconceived notions of how difficult something is supposed to be. You have preconceived notions of how much you hate XYZ. And you can't get over you. So you would rather hold on to the belief that this has to be hard, this has to be stressful, than enjoy it. Right? So that is definitely one way to go about it. Like, yeah, change a perspective and then get yourself to feel differently about something, and then go about it and, do the activity, right? Yeah. Okay. But that leaves us with yet another dependency. What if we can't feel differently at that moment, regardless of what we do? We might try some EFT tapping. We might try some meta pattern. We might try some, different coaching techniques. We might try some breath work. We might have some, ice baths. But what if we can't feel differently? Because the thing is, yeah, many of the times, this will be up to you. But the thing is, what if we can't rely on it, right? Because you will find the more you engage in something in a conscious way, no matter how strong your motivation is, at first it doesn't last. That's just a characteristic of the mind. It's not good at holding on to things for a, prolonged amount of time. So the only foolproof way to go about things is to know how to do things regardless of how you feel. Right? But in order to do that, you need to really work with you, right? Because what is the common tendency of doing something you don't want to? You engage in something this way, and then as soon as you're done, you run away. How many people engage in things that they don't want to do like this? We need to develop the ability to stay with ourselves in difficult experiences, because that is how knowledge, that is how wisdom grows, by experience, by conscious experience. So in order to develop that skill, it is important to do something hard. It is important to do something challenging. Why? Because when you do something challenging, you will naturally feel a lot of resistance towards the activity. You will not want to do it. But if you can stay with yourself, if you can, even if for 5 seconds, if you can develop the ability to hold on to yourself when something is really hard, when the stress is accumulating, you can quit and come back. But even if it's just one rep of, this is hard, but I'm gonna do it. Even if it is just one rep of that, it is significantly better than not doing it. So, what is the best challenging thing you can do to really develop that resistance? My Muslim friends will know, during Ramadan, you refrain from eating, right? It's really hard, but it's possible, yeah? During the day. Another challenging activity is waking up early. Waking up at 5 a.m. every day. No exceptions. Another difficult thing is 108 bows, like I do. Another difficult thing is meditation. Hey, a really difficult thing is doing all those things every day. Wake up at 5, do 108 bows, and meditate. Every day. No exceptions. I've been doing it for over a year now. And because of that experience, I have developed the ability to do a lot of other harder things with my presence. But I'm not really here to tell you that is the golden answer. The more important thing is you don't have to wake up at 5. You don't have to do the 108 bows. You don't have to do the meditation. But there's this thing you want to do, right? There's this thing you want to let go of. There is this skill that you want to develop. That means go ahead and start working on that. If you want to learn how to write a resume, go write resumes. If you want to let go of the urge to control something, do the exact opposite. If you want to let something go, do the exact opposite of it. If you want to stop controlling people, whenever somebody says something, say yes, yes ma'am, or yes sir, and just do that. It's gonna be really hard for you, but just do that. If you hate somebody and you want to let go of the hatred, try loving that somebody, right? Do nice things for that somebody, and you will want to, lose your mind, But if you can just stay present with that hatred, and while holding on to it, stay with yourself and engage in an act of love, there's gotta be something that you get from that experience. So, to recap, how-to questions generally involve your unwillingness to do something. So, that needs to be acknowledged. If you really don't want to do something, just don't do it. It makes life so much better. Or, if you want to do it, you need to be able to do something regardless of how you feel. So, how do you develop that ability to do something regardless of how you feel? Invite challenges into your life, because when you learn how to do challenging things, not challenging things are a piece of cake. And when you do so many challenging things, you're going to be so used to challenging yourself that challenges won't even feel like a challenge anymore. So that's my grand overview into how-to questions.